Hello, and welcome to League Night. Today we're going to be talking about product shortages, what happened in Dortmund, if that's how you even say it. And finally, we might wrap up with some aggro and always got to crack open a cold one at the end. So let's get right into it. This is Roy, I am Christopher, and we are talking Lorcana. So today in League Night, product shortages. Do you think this is a good thing? Do you actually want to be able to buy packs, or is that just a facade of a previous life? What do you think, Roy?
My honest opinion, especially in this current economy and this environment, I don't think this is a good thing because number one, you gotta have product out there in order for people to participate in the hobby in the first place, though. And if any previous history have you seen of scalpers entering any sort of hobby whatsoever, though, they just basically leave it just dustless in the wake, though. Every single time this happens, card prices go up and accessibility to the game period just dries up like crazy. I don't like rising prices. My personal philosophy is that the more people that have access to the game, the better to help the game in general, though. Because at its core, any good TCG out there worth its salt is based on the community that it brings. But I don't I don't know. This is probably the first time that we've seen any sort of activity in Lorcana whatsoever, though. But based on my previous experiences, I don't think this is going to be a really positive thing in the short term.
Pre-rotation, I remember around set 6, the price for first edition cards, all of set 1 cards were incredibly high, and they were just not available. You could not get a Maui Hero to All. You could not get Be Prepared. I mean, they were so exclusively rare and expensive. And I think that has kind of set a bit of fear for most people when talking online about, oh no, so the scalpers are coming. They're going to eat up all the product. Something that I would expect from this community because, we're Lorcana. We're not Magic the Gathering. We're not Pokemon, which is a weird thing to say about Pokemon. We're a lot more family friendly. Is we would expect Ravensburger, if there's enough interest and supply and people want it, they will print enough products and not try to run limited runs. We will actually hopefully see more availability, more cost of, basic singles. Sure, art rares, they're going to be rare and in between. They're going to be really tough to get a hold of. If someone's saying like, "Oh, I really want iconics and art rare for my entire deck," and the price of those are going to be 10 times the price they are now, well, right now iconics are like 30 cents, $5 for like a really good iconic that people actually want to run. I mean, we are seeing the art rares being thousands of dollars, sure, but like at this time, I can look at okay, tops decks, Ruby Sapphire, be prepared. Only $1.50. Uh Tamatoa, the most expensive card there, 721. If I start seeing Demonas get into $100 per card range for the singles, I will share your concern. We're seeing the scalpers really jump in there. Demona's price hasn't moved at all. Now, the art rare for Demona, incredibly high. I've kissed that goodbye, and I don't think accessibility there is going to be an issue. It'll be up to Ravensburger to make non-legendary cards good enough to be played with. But the importance of scalpers and this interest into the community, if people are seeing product sit on shelves, we're going to see a lot more game stores leave. Because as of 3 sets ago, we've been seeing game stores refuse to carry Lorcana because, well, it's just not a big mover.
Okay, so you're telling me that basically moving product would actually empower the stores, which are the stores that are operating these events, correct?
Yeah, a
Okay.
lot of a lot of stores have dropped Lorcana. I'm not sure if you've gone to a couple of stores around town, but there half of them no longer carry Lorcana that they used to.
Okay. I see what the point you're making over there though as well too though. I could actually I see this as a boon in your perspective though if they make it exclusively uh for LGSs only. But I'm starting to see like these drops on Amazon and I don't know. It hasn't gotten big enough to get to like the big box stores like Walmart yet though, but maybe on sparingly though. But here's the thing. In the recent spikes, the sealed boxes for even a brand new set though. This current set, you cannot find sealed boxes for less than about what, $200 now? And they were like they started off as 140 though. That's a big jump. I don't know what you I don't know about you though, but if I'm paying for a box of cards though, and I just want to rip them open, I just want to basically have the experience though at a reasonable rate though. It's
Yeah, pre-ordering is still an opportunity from LGSs. There LGSs here, and I've seen most LGSs being able to handle Pokemon. And they're like, okay, we're going to do our pre-orders. They fairly ensure that product for everyone, especially if you're regular at an LGS. And after your initial like pre-order box, I mean, for this, pack opening today, I couldn't get the new set, Wilds Unknown. I could only find Winter Spell. So I do understand that concern, but the singles cost, like if for people who are actually wanting to play for League Night, they can still go buy their LGS, buy like a dozen singles for under $100. I'm like, we're not at Pokemon levels, we're not at Magic of the Gathering levels, and make good decks.
okay. Yeah, because
Both arguments are good. Yeah, if we may hit that point you're worried about, we might hit that. Ooh, singles prices have gone through the roof, but um, I'm not sure if there's enough play demand versus art rares. I think that's where all the concerns are. If art rares are really 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 sought after, people are willing to pay that money, especially because it's like, oh, there's a Winnie the Pooh art rare I really, really love, and I really want it for my, just because I don't play the game, but I just want it. That's not going to kill the community.
oh, it's funny you mentioned Winnie the Pooh. I'm looking at the Honey Wizard right now. This is a 5 cent card on TCG right now. Okay, 5 cents. Do you know how much? Do you know how much the special art version of it is going for now?
How much?
It's running at about 5K right now. We're talking about a more just a foil like Winnie the Pooh. You have to check that price history too, though, because it definitely wasn't at 5K last week or the week previous to that. Now, I can understand the philosophy of actually making collectors cards collectible. That's fine. They're following the same philosophy that Magic the Gathering and Pokemon have gone through. There there are two aspects to the hobby: collecting and playing, right? Unfortunately, both parties have to be involved intensely in order for a TCG to be successful, though. And it's so funny though because both of those groups are very like anti against each other. Either not in real life though, because of course they're card players. They're not gonna be like that. But on the internet, they are savage against each other. They're like saying it's like, oh, this is an investment. It's like, no, this is a children's card game. It's like, no, this is an investment for me, and I put this much money into it though. And if it weren't for me funding you, then it's like, then you won't be able to play this game. And I understand that concept because I think what they're trying to do is basically port over the pay to win model that you see a bunch of these mobile games have, right? Whales run it,
Yeah.
ri- and whales fund it. But if you think about it, though, whales do have the capability to control the game in a way where the players won't like it. So I think what both communities need to come to an agreement is like, okay, I'm on this side doing this, but I need for you to play this game a certain way and be involved with it whatsoever. But here's the kicker now. The championship promo for the last store championships though. Do you know how much it costs right now?
it's like what, $50, $75. The promo is not that expensive.
Promo, the last sale, average sales is posting about $350.
350. Wow.
So, what if you're like this random Joe that only has a couple $100 though to basically build a deck that's competitive enough to actually face against people? Then you get those tryhards rolling in. It's like, oh, a $300 prize as compared to $50 on the end. You see, if the incentives increase though, the player skill is going to increase though, and it's going to push out a lot of people. You know why? You know why I know this? Because I used to be one of those guys that if a promo went above a certain amount, though, I would just try hard like heck and basically push out everybody else, though. And there were so many complaints, and I felt bad about that. So
Yeah, that's I still run into a lot of like, hey, for people, I guess we're in a community that is aggressive and competent enough that really is trying to win. You run across some very, very, very good decks. You run across those people who are like, hey, you know what? I'm playing the tier one deck, the S tier deck. Um, oh, and correction, the store championship participant promo card is right now just $10. It just dropped from a high of $21. So it is, yeah, the actual winner Woody card is worth much more. But so there needs to be a balance. I agree with the fact that we need to have enough interest for whales to want to chase cards that don't block people from building good decks. I didn't even think about the idea of the fact that if decks are so good, if cards rewards are so good, then it's going to remove the ability for casual players to jump in and start learning the game.
yeah, that's one concept that going through. I'm a mediocre player, but I try my very hardest to win, though. I'm one of those filthy net deckers. I go online, I check what's the latest and greatest, though, the synergies between them. Spot the local meta, and on top of everything else, I try my very best to win every single time in every single format, whether it's constructed, draft, or cube, or anything like that. I go hard, or as hard as my ability can, though. I know I'm not a world class player or anything like that, but I'm one of those people on the local level though. I do pretty decent, but I just can't pass that threshold to get into like, the higher echelon stuff. So.
Is it up to game stores in order to give an opportunity to say like, hey, for people who want to be super sweaty, join this tournament. For people who want to have a more casual, fun time, join this tournament. And then they decide like, okay, well, for the casual tournament, the prize support's much lower. There's not going to be anything particularly exciting versus, you're actually going to get that $300 Woody. Weird way to say that. From the bigger tournaments, and then if to encourage like a separation of those who want to have to learn to be more casual. I know that in our tournament we have Kidkana, Lorcana that's aimed for particularly a younger generation, and we give away a lot of chaff to those to make sure that they can build their collection without having to spend a lot of money. Do you think that might solve that concern?
Yeah, I think I might solve that concern though, because the general rule is basically it's a winnowing. It's a tournament structure. It's hardcore. It's like, single elimination, winner takes all, everything like that though. But since Disney's like a brand itself, Disney a brand, they should actually have some sort of separate like kids promo or anything like that though. They did something similar like this with Magic back in the day though, because they did like they did a college series surprisingly. Like it was like on ESPN too. It's like, okay, if you could only enter this tournament if you're enrolled in college or something like that. So that would possibly work. But in general, what I've learned over the years is that everybody has to strive to be their best in these types of tournaments. You could have your casual, nights and stuff like that. That's perfectly fine though. But when it comes down to it though, even the most like casual beginning player though, they want to reach that high level to the point to where they want to actually conquer people. That's just how it goes. That works in every level of competition all across the world though, whether it be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, trading card games, even bowling. I've seen people try hard at bowling. It's crazy. So it's built into us once you get competitive.
Doesn't that the fact that there's a $300 uh, prize at the end of it and encouraging all these top rated, people bring their top decks, wouldn't that help, the fact that, hey, I want to be a top player, I want to really go out to Dortmund and Melbourne and all these other places to show how good I am, getting their teeth cut against other people who are really excited about this very expensive card. I think would actually help them fine tune their play. And as important as net decking is and stuff like that, it's more important to be able to be just good with the game. And luckily, Lorcana is very accessible for you to, with enough reps and seeing enough cards and knowing the in and out of it, you can get good at the game.
I agree. This game is, in my honest opinion, beginner friendly.
Yeah.
There's no fast effects. There's no counter spells. You have to plan everything accordingly. And on top of everything else, there's no like hold on, wait, or anything like that. Everything happens on your turn though. That's what I love about this game. When I transferred over to this game and started playing a couple games myself, I'm like, oh, I know what this is, or I know why the game is this way because all these complaints they actually come out from former players of like whether it be Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, or Pokemon. Here's the thing about Pokemon that kind of bothers me a little bit though. I kind of want to go up to those people that are scalpers though, and I actually want to play them in Pokemon to see if they actually know how to play the game, just to know if they actually know the basics of it. Because I think honestly, to be a collector, especially have a deep love for a game though, you got to at least know the basics, right? I mean, can you set up a game right away and do that? No, they can't possibly do that. But when you're focusing on the player base though, that is the key core demographic that you want though, because if you get players, you get a solid 16 players every single time, night on and on. That builds up a reputation. That builds word of mouth. It's like, and then people start inviting their either their relatives or their close coworkers in like that. I miss that part of the trading card community. Just basically inviting your friend. It's like, hey, this guy's getting started out. Maybe you could show him more slow, or just basically take it slow and stuff like that. I am under the philosophy that the more accessible that you make a game and you create that nice positive environment where you help people out or you learn certain things, and especially if you grow rapidly though, that satisfaction to where from day one to day 365, after that you take a look at yourself. I'm like, wow, I progressed this much. That's what's missing in TCGs, in my opinion. I am 100% for the players in when it comes to everything though. Give them good price support. I like those like Friday nights where you basically show up, and if you and those there's a couple stores out there that say, "Oh, well, if you haven't won today though, you still get a pack." It's like when you if you still show up, you still get something on top of it. Because you don't want to show up, pay your $10 or $12 or whatever you pay, and then just basically leave empty-handed though. If you get your butt whipped every single week after week after week after week, unless you're a sicko like me that likes to take punishment in that way, then they're not going to come back.
And right now, we I am seeing in league nights, stores having trouble getting those 16 players. It's usually a very common eight, maybe sometimes high 10 players, 11. Um, so we're still early on in Lorcana, and we're still need to build those communities. And there are people I've seen really stand out, who's been trying to get younger people in, so that they can move up to league nights. Something that also could be talked about is the fact that league nights start at like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and don't end till 10 o'clock, which for younger groups might be harder to make to be accessible, for them to be able to do league night too.
Maybe doing like like do a youth league earlier in the day and afternoon. That might be if that's an official organized structure by Ravensburger, that would actually be really awesome to like increase their player base though. There's nothing I miss so much to actually see a whole bunch of 7 to 10-year-olds just basically throw down on some cards though and just talking smack. I mean, I miss those days
Yeah.
as a kid. Um,
Do you think league nights are appropriate? Should be where kids go, or just like do a weekend events, have weekend events for families and newer players, and keep that separate for the more dedicated league night.
you know what? I think you're onto something there. Maybe Friday should be dedicated to like, competitive players or people that are our age though. And then like on the weekends just have like a family nights, like bring your kid day or bring your bring your wife day. Like that is the one thing you need to grasp uh, for the trading card community though. Do you know why Magic experienced a boom recently?
Why's that?
People brought their wives, people brought their girlfriends
Mhm.
for the EDH format. If you're able to basically tell your spouse or your significant other, hey, I'm going to play this game and it's fun, it's casual, and then it's not going to be people slapping each other over the head with like giant dragons and stuff like that, then it's like that.
I brought my wife to early Magic days back when we were in college. So no, I family that plays together stays together. Well, you
Exactly.
know what? I think we did it. We've officially solved the product shortage, and we the simple solution is just make sure Ravenberger prints enough stuff so that other people can get in, and league night and uh, family nights, family days are separated, so families can go play together on the weekends, and we have a nice sweaty league night for us to try hard and really climb that ladder with game stores giving good price support. Did we miss anything?
Oh, good food. That's important too.
Good food. That's super important.
Yeah.
You either have access to good food, or the game store needs to provide it. Super important.
Well, they don't have to
Net.
provide it though, but like,
Yeah,
I mean, Little Caesar's still around though. That $5 pizza deal though is still going on though. Or if you got a Costco membership, you just go hump it and like it starts stacking 3 or 4 out the door, and you're good to go.
absolutely. Well, next, let's go into, speaking of, now that we've done a great job of uh, tackling the our league night and moving on to the next level. I guess the next level would be going to the DLC, and Dortmund just occurred in Germany, and we have some rather interesting results there. So we're starting off on Friday. We had a bunch of dog players that failed to make it in the top four. Top four being Amethyst Emerald, Ruby Sapphire, Steel Emerald, and another Ruby Sapphire. So two hard control decks, uh, and two, I guess you could say discards, kind of a control deck. But they're more of like a counterspell type deck than control the board. We'll get into those concepts later. So anything you want to talk about Alessandro's Tesaris? Yeah, sure, we'll go with that pronunciations. Deck, discard deck that he brought and did very, very well in.
I enjoy this deck on a fundamental level. Number one, any control deck worth the salt, to me, you need to be able to actually have a follow-up to your sweeper. If you sweep the board, you got to be able to understand that you could follow it up with a big creature or a win condition whatsoever. Looking at this list though, it's looking pretty stacked. We're talking about, your standard Under the Sea, and then on top of everything else though, you got a great cast of characters though. Mainly it's focused on Diablo, the Obedient Raven,
Mm-hmm.
which is that basically the handmaid right there.
No, the Devoted Herald. Devoted Herald is the one where you shift onto Obedient Raven or
Yeah.
Maleficent Spy, and then every time your opponent proceeds to draw a card, you also draw a card. So if a dog's player proceeds to cycle their hand with a tramp, you just drew 7, 8 cards, and you're sitting pretty for the rest of the game.
Yeah, like card advantage, card advantage, card advantage. That's the key to this game. Even the aggro decks inside this game have card advantage above everything else.
Mm-hmm. An interesting element. I mean, again, this is Infinity. This isn't Core. So the Dumbo, which is probably one of the most expensive cards that I've seen played through the entire tournament, which is a $41 card. But the Dumbo, to being able to exert and draw without a lot of different evasive characters. Perhaps I guess the big thing for Dumbo is playing the Elsa Fifth Spirit, which is also evasive and only quest for one. Have her come in, rush, take something out, and then proceed to be activated with the Dumbo the rest of the time. And my favorite, absolute favorite set of cards this deck runs is Pull the Lever, Kronk. Wrong lever. I love that combo just to be able to, if you need to trim down someone's hand, or it's effectively the same thing in this type of deck. Friends on the other side, being able to then draw two cards and synergizing with wrong level to do it under the sea just on one character. It's a really, really powerful combo. And again, the being able to shout that every time you play it is worth it just to include it in your deck.
That's crazy.
Wrong lever.
I love that movie.
Ah, yes.
So underrated though. Well, it's not really underrated though, but it's just like, I don't know. It's a great movie altogether though.
Any particular cards in here that you see that you don't quite understand the use or how it plays together, or anything that stands out to you?
The snow fort locations though. I wonder what they're used for. I'm looking at it right here. Characters get +1. Okay, so you're basically getting more power when this is out. It's not inkable, so there's that going for it though. And I guess the snow fort on its head is basically a defensive card though. So I think it's meant, and correct me if I'm wrong, to protect your characters, especially the ones that have lower toughness.
Yeah, usually you see something that would give your characters reckless, and then you have that snow fort synergy, so they have the resist. You get two of them too, so they have resist +2.
Oh,
And then you force them in. But this deck doesn't run the resist, so my assumption is for things like buffing up the Diablos, so they have very clean trades, or making the Elsa being able to swing for 3, which is going to be really good. I agree. That's a unique one, which I don't see a lot of. Um, 3 health things that this deck would be worried about. I could see 2 health things, and you have the Elsa that's able to challenge it without much problem at all. So maybe it's just, again, just to help make the Diablos be a bit more scary. But on that note, okay, so we have the snow forts, which are uninkable, but on that same thought, we have the crickies. There's only two of them, sure, but they give your other characters +3 attack. I don't see this deck having a lot of characters on the field. Anytime that, uh, you know, and you run into an aggro deck, that you'll be trading quite a bit because of those snow forts to kind of remove stuff, and Elsa turning things sideways. So yeah, I like the snow forts over the crickies, and maybe they thought, well, I can just situationally pull that out. So, if I need a cricky, or if, I'll have a snow fort. But you got the Merlin crabs, you got the crickies, you have the snow fort. I'm It's good that you have a lot of ant power addition to your characters, maybe too much. Well, let's go ahead and move on to, now we've gone over Friday, Saturday, where we have Amber Steel winning. We actually have two dog decks making it into the top four, and a
yeah.
Ruby Sapphire, which classic deck. We didn't talk about Ruby Sapphire much on Friday, but the whole point of these decks is it's a quintessential control deck. If you play Hearthstone, anything that just constantly kills, removes every single character from the board. And if you play Magic, it'd be like those white heavy removals, just wipe after wipe after wipe. And unlike white, which usually be filling the board with tokens, you would have some big characters like Maleficent and things to be able to just quest heavily to win the game. So let's go into that Ember Steel deck, which is kind of a Steel Song deck. What do you think about that one?
This is one of my personal favorite decks. If there's one thing that I enjoy with the creatures, though, if you could actually use them as a resource in order to gain that extra advantage when it comes to decks like this, I'm all for it, though. We're talking princesses, we're talking like allies with all the sing abilities, though. And on top of that, the synergy itself, you could deal extra damage. And on top of it, the centerpiece that I enjoy the most, though, the must kill on sight is Beast. So the philosophy behind Beast, which in my experience playing it, is that if you keep it basically untapped, you keep drawing cards. You keep drawing cards. And if somebody messes damages, though, it becomes
A 7/5,
so
basically. Yeah.
yeah, so it turns into a Buzz Lightyear running after your other opponents like bigger creatures at that point of the game, though. Because if you drop this on turn 5, though, chances are your opponent, whether if you've gone first or second, will be dropping a turn 4 or turn 6 creature, though, with the average toughness at about 6 or 7, going at that rate. And he's perfect as far as for this deck goes, though, because down the road you want to set up everything with your princesses. You want to remove any early threats and just try not to basically overcommit and just keep it going, though. It's like a Gatling gun. It's like, okay, I have this here and then it goes here. I have this here and it'll go here. And then as soon as you keep filling up your hand, though, then you go again, then you go again, then you go again, removing threats.
What a scary combo is, too. If you cannot remove the beast, and you just wound him just so he stops drawing those cards, then Rapunzel comes down, heals 3 damage off of him, and you draw 3 cards. The card draw in this is very consistent. It's a nice drumbeat of draw a card, draw a card, draw a card, which is so important for all these songs as your characters sing, get a wide board, remove, and always love Ariel Sonic Warrior, who's able just to every time you sing a song, you get to do 2 damage to 3 damage. That's right. That only costs 2 to someone else. So you get to just double hit something and remove a lot. Along comes Zeus. You have 5, and then the extra 3 from Sonic Warrior, 8 damage to a character. Removes every character except for maybe, let me think. I think there's the Maui, which is an 8/8. The Maleficent Dragons, I think the 7/9 is the only one that I can survive the double hit from singing Along Comes Zeus, Ariel Sonic Warrior. So it's a good control deck that's very, very, very fast. Any things that kind of shock you with things that you would love to see, things that you would think would change, things that after the next set comes out, you would love to see come into core common.
Jeez, yeah. Okay. One card I wanted to actually highlight here, I think it's basically a staple when it comes to steel. Beyond the Horizon. Beyond Horizon is the sync together 7 card. Choose any number of players. They discard their hands and they draw 3 cards each. Though you could play that multiple ways. If you're running out of gas, you could just straight up play this though with because you will have a couple characters on board and fill up your own hand. But as a counterplay, if you're playing against a control player, you could have them dump their hand and basically have them draw 3 cards as well because they might be holding up a whole bunch of stuff as far as like a follow up or anything like that. And this is often used in my experience to basically either refill my hand or stave off any sort of control's plan to actually take over the rest of the game after turn 4 or 5. But as far as Amber Steel goes in the Infinity, I personally like it, but I think there's going to be another deck out there that'll probably just squash it as well, though. Amber Steel is response basically dogs at this point in the Infinity because it has everything you want though. It's got creatures, it's got early threats on top of everything else though. You can just basically just pick off all the dogs left and right, and basically just run over your opponent. But what card stands out to you inside this Amber Steel deck, personally on your end?
So actually, you hit it right there. Beyond the Horizon. So a classic card that was Beyond the Horizon was called the Discount. uh, in a whole new world. Whole New World does the same thing as Beyond the Horizon, except for you don't get to. It's not a May. Also, it's draw 5 cards instead of 3, and it only costs 5. For you seeing it for 5, everyone discards their hands and draw 5 cards. So I'm really interested in the fact that why choose the 7 cost one that gives you the May draws 3 instead of the 5 cost one, unless they're particularly worried about there's going to be dog players. I'm really afraid of giving them 5 cards to play. That might lose me the game. Looking at the list, drawing 5 cards, that just gives, someone plays 5 dogs and you just remove 5 dogs during your turn and you move on. And uh, I don't, I think still against dogs, letting them draw the extra cards. I'm not too worried about with the whole new world. So I would love to see the Beyond the Horizon be swapped out for whole new world next season, next set. I would love to see a reprint of Whole New World. I thought that was such a fun card. Everyone drop your hand and here's 5 new cards. Or actually, is it 7? Oh yeah, that's right. It is 7 new cards. So you're restarting your whole hand from beginning
Yeah,
just by singing a song.
insane. Um, as I play this game more and more, I'm starting to understand the resources. The resources are key. Like you have to use everything on the board though. You can't just depend on your basic energy source or card draw or anything for that matter though. But the fact that this game has you try to come up with themes in order to synergize with everything is perfect though. Which would fall into the next deck that you mentioned, which was Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah, Ruby Sapphire, the old Blurple deck for like the people who had all the money, they would run out with the Ruby Sapphire because every card in that deck was at least $10, and most cards averaged around 50 something dollars too.
Oh my goodness. So what cards, for instance, that were at a high value in this current deck list that we're looking at right here?
Maui Hero to All before rotation, 50 something dollar card. Tamatoa, another one that was, super important. It was the thing that made the deck run.
Mhm.
Um, 60 something dollar card. Sisu, Empowered Sibling, not nearly as bad, but still $40 card. Uh,
Jeez. Okay.
yeah, Oswald. Oswald was like, when it came out in set 5 was like the super, everyone was super excited. I had one Oswald and that was $40 as well.
Mhm.
And then Lucky Dime, the most expensive card in the entire deck, at like I think it was like $75 if I remember correctly, but it was worth quite a bit.
Yeah. So going back on the previous argument when we're talking about card prices, though, I'm looking at this list and I'm looking at the card prices right now. This is completely doable on anyone's budget right now. Yeah, we're looking at an average about okay, it's 62. So if you have $62 lying around, you could actually buy a competitive deck in this format, though. That's amazing.
And it's a fun deck.
Yeah.
They did ban the draw engine,
Yeah.
so there used to be a card where you could destroy an item,
Mhm.
draw 2 cards, and what you'll end up seeing is by turn 15, someone's drawn through their entire deck, which is crazy because as a core player, I would be surprised if I can draw through like half my deck in the first 10 turns. So, or like anywhere close to that much versus, again, like the whole mechanism of just I will churn through all these cards so quickly and there's nothing you can do about it. So, um, I it's surprising that they still have some pretty decent card draw, but a lot of what I'm seeing here for how this deck runs is just being able to recycle items, gain the popsicle down, back up, down, back up, down, back up. So that way it emulates card draws by using your discard as another set of resources for you to be able to add into your hand.
Oh, that's pretty insane. Yeah. So looking at this deck, I could actually see all the synergies left and right, and the one thing that actually sticks out to me is Great Stone Dragon. So Great Stone Dragon, in my opinion, though, is probably going to be the linchpin as far as like the ramp engine for this deck because I'm starting to see like there's a lot of high casting costs on here. I mean, granted, there's Sisu can be shifted for a cheaper cost at 6 though, but you also have to understand that there's a top end that needs to be filled out here. And if you want to actually be a lot more efficient though, you would want to play like maybe 2 or 3 cards in a control deck if you're trying to rebuild your board. So, but Greystone Dragon, I understand the penalty of it coming into play tapped or exerted. Is perfectly feasible, but like in the late game, if you don't need something like this, though, I'm also glad that the fact that it is actually inkable and you could actually use it as a source of ink in order to cast other spells as well. So that's my MVP for this deck, though, the Great Stone Dragon, because it works in the early and it works in the late, in my opinion.
When I played in set 5, Greatstone Dragon was actually too slow. No one was interested in it.
Really?
Yeah, no, Greatstone Dragon was just not the card in order to there are better ramps. I think most of the time people would much rather play How Far I'll Go, which lets you draw draw 2 cards, put one in your inkwell, one in your hand, and that was the Greatstone Dragon. I think what's changed here is Merlin's Carpet Bag, which lets you return items, and you have your uninkable slots are pretty filled. But historically, the way that people played this was they didn't worry too much about ramping too fast because on turn 7, you're going to get Be Prepared.
There you go. And that's the closer.
Yep, exactly. And then at that point, you start getting all right, now deal with my Tamatoa as I start questing and the Sisus start questing for 5 pretty much every turn.
Yeah, because if you got like 3 or more items out on the board with the Tamatoa, then it's basically chunk five, and then it's like, you're on a clock after that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the classic top tier deck for that we saw since honestly set 1. Set 1 when they had tournaments, you would see red blue as a big contender, and they didn't have the ramp like they did before. So
Yeah.
you had to sit there and just like turn 7, Be Prepared, it's coming. I just know it, which is super hard to do when you know that Maui is already on the board and going to be removing all of your characters.
I totally agree. I don't know. The thing about like the balance of like the metagame though, it always intrigues me that everybody says there's 3 archetypes though. To be perfectly honest though, there should be 5 archetypes in order for a truly
Mhm.
balanced game. Each point of star's got to be able to like take out the other one.
Right. I would say though, I don't think there's any real. I guess red blue would be the combo archetype because of Tamatoa and Lucky Dime.
Mhm.
Other than that, I don't think there's any like real big things that you can quest with to get big combos, especially early on. In core, I'm trying to think of like there's a few things which have some synergy, but synergy is not the same thing as combos where you have these cards work together and that working together wins the game. But I guess that could be a topic for another time going deeper into that.
Oh, I totally agree. So I have a question for you for these tournaments as far as it goes though. So when moving forward in the competitive scene, they just set up one format as the competitive one, or do they switch them out between core and infinity?
So there are 2 separate threads. One thread for Infinity, one thread for Core. And so for core players, if they say like, "Hey, I'm just a core player. I really don't care that much about Infinity," there's their ratings and their weekly status will adjust to just how they've been doing during Core. For Infinity players, I think that includes their core ranking for eligibility into the higher tier tournaments. I could be mistaken. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, that's crazy. I don't know how they're gonna situation that out though, but there's two main formats, I guess, competitively though, but they haven't included draft yet, right?
There is no competitive drafting. That's correct. It
Okay.
is purely, uh, which drafting is my absolute favorite.
I
I
love
love that
I
there's
love
this.
drafting.
Oh
Drafting's like
yeah.
I think drafting, in my honest opinion, in any format whatsoever though, is the original roguelike. I mean, you go in there with nothing. You basically have, basic knowledge of the set though, but then you just draft cards, and then go into it.
Are you more of a sealed guy where you prefer to go, hey, I want to get my 4 packs and build my 40 card deck, or do you like the I get a pack and then rotate more?
Oh, I love controlling my destiny. Draft is my main thing. Sealed is like a dead drop. I'm like, that's perfectly fine, especially when a new set drops, and just to get everybody associated with the cards though. But the real
Yeah.
competitiveness when it comes to also opening a pack, it's like, okay, I got this, so let me see if I can pair it with this, and it fits my curve and everything like that. And another time, I actually want to go deeper into like draft theory for Lorcana as such, but I need to start getting more drafts in. Like I used to crank out at least like 7 or 8 drafts back when I used to play Magic, like constantly. It's like left and right and everything. I was addicted to it. And roguelites right now as a game genre are just big though. You got Balatro, you got Mugenics. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you're playing my song right now.
Yeah, we should contact one of our local game stores and say like there needs to be a regular draft on the weekend. They're going to do drafts on the weekend just because it's going to encourage more people to come. But
Yeah.
yeah, just at least a once a month draft to really for us to get a chance to go in there and play through like, oh, I get to play just A, build my collection, and B, have fun, just gain the fun cards that to build a wonky deck. I heard something about a draft format that only limits you to 3 colors, which is an interesting format as well. So if you're like, oh, I start investing in one color, and the next pack you open, you're only get stuck with like, oh, there's not anything good of my color in this pack. Do you like that limited color drafting, or do you want to go, hey, let's go wide and we draft whatever cards we can?
So there's two camps of thought when it comes to stuff like this. If you leave it wide open, especially in a draft format, you'll get crazy combinations though. Like you basically, it's like sky's the limit at that point though. Because if you could draft all of the different like I don't want to say colors. I don't want to get stuck onto it because I just want to get the terminology right. Let's just say the
Minerals?
gems
Yeah.
or the minerals. There you go. It sounds British actually. It's like, do you have the minerals? I was like, no. But if you get access to all the minerals or the elements, there you go. If you get access to all the elements, then you can go crazy with everything and start slapping like bombs and on top of everything else. Though the only thing you have to worry about from that happenstance is to maintain that sweet spot between 77 to 80% of inkable, and that's it. That's all you have to do it though. I think on a basic level to get people interested into it though, you should leave it limitless like that though. But once you start diving into the competitive elements though, you have to start limiting people based on the elements that you provide
Right.
them.
So, I do believe I think color is valid, even though it is emerald, ruby, and those aren't colors; those are minerals. Because you have colorless cards,
Mhm.
which are the cards that go into the single player decks. Well, to wrap this all up, is there anything that you let's go and jump into the elephant in the room. There were a lot of dog players. Uh, do you think that's a problem, or is that a part of a healthy ecosystem right now for at least in terms of infinity? All the dogs that we saw represented in the tournament.
So aggro as a meter of measurement for game skill is probably the correct way to go of things though. So if you have a whole bunch of aggro decks running around, then that's going to cause people to actually get more interesting with their deck choices though, coming up with mid-range strategies or control elements that are finely tuned in order to combat this though. Having it over aggro meta is completely okay, but people worry about the mirror match, right? Well, in the mirror match, you could actually put in cards that would actually go up against characters of the same mirror match. And you're starting to see like different card combinations, and instead of sticking with the core, I'm just gonna dump a whole bunch of creatures and run after you and stuff like that. It's just no, that's not gonna disrupt anything whatsoever. People complaining about seeing the same deck over and over are probably not the ones that try to come up or innovate anything like that. For instance, Amber Steel is a perfect answer to dogs, in my honest opinion. When I saw that, though, that's why it won. It won because it not only uses creatures, though, it has the proper tools to get rid of those turn 2, turn 3 setups that might actually push them over the edge. And it has the tools in order to actually disrupt their plan as well. So then it comes to where Amber, if Amber still becomes the main deck or the main meta deck, though, people will start developing different things and different strategies in order to fight that and combat it every single day. So you need a bad guy in order to get everybody riled up and gang up on it to it, in order to get all these other elements to it, elements locked in to basically destroy it, either by control, mid range, comboing out, synergistic character decks, or just something completely rogue that is specifically made to kill that specific deck archetype. So aggro, seeing dogs out there, it's not a problem with me, but I'm kind of curious of what you think about that aspect.
That we do not have enough aggro archetypes. Currently, our only aggro right now that's able to do anything is dogs. Um, I want to say like the skill ceiling is super low for dogs because having played dogs, I haven't being the only dog player in this league night. I wasn't able to win all my games. I won a couple of games here and there by a little bit of luck, a little bit of good matchup, but if I had ran into a control player, I still lost that matchup, and theoretically, I could have won it most of the time. And I disagree with the idea that uh, the best counter is Steel Song because of the fact that Under the Sea exists, and there's a lot of different Emerald decks that can run Under the Sea. I think purple, green, amethyst green, amethyst emerald will be the number one and dog killer. Steel is always going to be good against dogs, but like again that amethyst to give you all that draw to make sure you get under the sea, and then under the sea just you remove all of your creatures because none of them have more than 3 attack. They're just easily wiped out. Still, though, I mean, Steel Song has an easy time. They just don't bring grab your swords, which gives you AOE. So that's the only my only concern about Steel Song is the lack of AOE and how quickly Infinity Dogs can grow wide. But yeah, I'd say the fact that we only have one good aggro deck is probably a little bit of a concern. Um, but since you're rarely seeing huge impact in the top 8 of like dogs winning everything, I mean, they're aggro. They can only do so much. I'm happy with the fact that they're represented. I would say the aggro percentage of the top 32 decks are good. The fact that they're all homogenous, I could see that as a problem.
Having one single aggro deck, basically would actually make it just kind of stale. I don't like it when card games get stale. It's like, okay, you have to play this specific archetype of this color combination. You're just running through like crazy. It's like, okay, boom, 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 week after week, and but that's what bans are for, right? I mean, if you see a deck consistently perform within, I think the measurement now that if 6 out of the top 8 are the same deck, though, they're gonna start looking at the deck really heavily to find like bans. That's it. We live in a digital world too, so we don't have to basically wait in order to make these changes whatsoever. So it's up to the development team, and especially when they're dealing with like um play testing and all these constant like um, card design and everything like that, though. Bans are a tool that the team could actually use in order to basically create a more diverse meta out there. Diversity is probably the best thing that you could possibly do for a TCG whatsoever, though. But it's a lot easier said than done.
Just describing the idea of aggro and the fact that aggro is kind of important. What does aggro mean in Lorcana to you?
Well, aggro is one of the deck archetypes that is it's a pace setter to me. You got to have a set script. You got to know what you're doing, and you have to know when to drop and what you're supposed to drop, though. Sequencing. You'll hear that term showing up every single time when it comes to aggro decks. For instance, you get a hand, 7 cards, right? And you basically
Yep.
have like, for instance, a really good hand would probably be maybe 2 1 drops, 4 2 drops, and then the rest of them on top end, though. And you make sure, of course, you have inkables in order to run it and whatsoever. And on top of everything else, though, the magic number now becomes 2 and 4. So in the early game, you want to make sure you have 2 ink in order to run all your drops, though, and start questing and questing and questing. And then when you reach turn 4, you want to have the ability to either drop 2 more characters after they remove the others, and basically stack it on top of it, though. Brick by brick, character by character, you just shape away and shape away to the point that where you want to get into the red zone. And in this case, you want to be at 15 lore by turn 3 or 4. Then you can survive anything else. It could be like a small AoE that blasts your small creatures, send it back to your hand, or whatever board sweep that they do. And then afterwards, though, a good aggro deck needs to have some sort of consistent card draw to fill up your hand to make sure to survive anything that would clear the board or make up for all the spot removal. Because I guarantee you, though, when a control player is playing against an aggro player, they're like saying, okay, you can keep hitting me. You can keep hitting me. I'm going to wait until I'm going to use the sweeper in my hand. And then I'm going to follow it up with the biggest swing attack. And that's it. Now, aggro in its basic philosophy, everybody thinks it's like it's probably just a dumbfire missile. You just fire and forget, right? No. There's a lot more thought that goes into it, though, because sequencing is the one thing you got to do. You got to follow your script, and you have to improvise if your script gets disrupted. So it goes for 1, 2, 3, 4. If your opponent knows that you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, then it's like, okay, then I'm just gonna wait until I reach 5 and then take out everything. And then if you have no cards in hand, then you're basically stuck for next 2 turns, though, and they could build up. But as an aggro deck, you want to basically skip everything and go 1, 3, 5, though, and think in that philosophy. When it comes to it, though, and you got to shake them off, though. My personal opinion, it might sound weird, but you want them to think that you're following a script, but then underneath you got to have some sort of plan B and plan C. It
Yeah,
goes totally against the philosophy of aggro, where you're just basically dumping creatures and swinging, and that's it. No, the aggro inside of Lorcana gives you opportunities to where if you mess up, you could also recover and recover and recover.
I guess that's one unique thing that you can do in aggro in Lorcana. That's one unique thing you can do in Lorcana that you can't do in other games is you don't have to turn your character sideways. So, and that prevents a lot of interactions. In core, I guess you have the ability to protect yourself through um, most attacks. Now then you have to worry about spell damage, through songs or through action damage to remove your characters. And then the big sweepers currently in core, the only sweeper that you have to worry about is Under the Sea. I wouldn't really call Grab Your Bows a big sweeper because it only removes 2 characters for 5. But it is a song and it can be popped off pretty quickly. The other sweeper uh, to go is to worry about in Infinity is you have Be Prepared. Be Prepared is just going to be a great removal, not just for aggro but for everything because it removes every character. And then you also have the Big Sisu, which removes all characters that's 2 or less. And then there's the third sweeper, which I have a lot of mixed feelings about because it is in Amber, which is Whiteout. The fact that it, again, it's be prepared. It costs 8. It's an action, not a song. Uh, it is slow enough where I guess I don't know. At by turn 8, do you feel that as a aggro player, the game's either won or lost by then?
Yeah, I agree. Turn 8 is probably like, the basically S or get off the pot sort of situation though. It's like you need to be winning. Like you definitely have to be in the red zone, which is 15 by that time.
Yeah, definitely. If not, you're just trying to squeeze out the last couple of lore you need. I guess to get to 15. What I've seen dogs try to aim for is usually a 1 drop on turn 1, two drops on turn 2, and then a big 3 drop that lets you draw up. And then at that point, you should have uh, something strong to refill your hand with, or maybe Emerald Chromicon, so that when you start having to get your characters removed and while you're questing, they're having to remove their own characters. Any core concept of like, hey, if you're going to build uh, aggro, this is what you should really look for in Lorcana, or this is is it really just coming down to aggro quest very very quickly and needs to quest to get 15 in lore within the first several turns, because by after turn 5 you're going to get into those sweepers either through ramp or through some other mechanisms? Or do you think that there is a little bit more nuance on hey, aggro really depends on the matchup on how you want to play it? If you want to just build up 20 lore then turn sideways, or you should always be more proactive than that?
Um, I think being proactive in aggro is probably the smartest way to go though, because if you basically overcommit by turn 4, you drop everything. It's like you got 1 or 2 cards left, and they follow it up with some sort of like two or banish all creatures or return all creatures to your hand like they're 2 or less though. That devastates your game plan. I mean, yeah, you can recover with 2 more, but then afterwards they follow up with something else bigger, and then they'll start using that character to eliminate all your characters that are just turning sideways every single turn. So it's like 1 for 1, then it becomes a 2 for 1, and then becomes a 3 for 1. Card advantage is key, but you also have to know a card's value though. If you could use 1 card to eliminate 3 characters, that's that's devastating to aggro, in my honest opinion though. That's the magic
Yeah.
number, is 3. You you use 1 character to take out three of their dogs though. Oh, it's done at that point.
And so many, there's a lot of opportunities to use one resource to take out two. Very few right now that takes out more than two. All right, now that we've been solved this week's meta, let's open up a cold one. And kind of like we spoke about earlier at the beginning, I was unable to get any wild unknown packs, and for this cold one I have a winter spell pack. So I guess the big chases to get out of here, there's a couple enchanteds, but for my collection I would not mind another whiteout, so I could possibly build some fun control decks. So opening up, okay, starting off, we get the commons that no one ever cares about. I'm just joking, of course. Some more commons. Oh, a Hercules. I always love the boost option. It allows me to play more cards without actually having to draw them. So it's using my deck as a resource. Wait, two? No, Duckling, Winter Spell. And oh, another Willow. Everyone loves seeing Willow. She's totally a fair card that no one complains about. My first rare is a Jamba, and my second rare is the Mickey Mouse. Okay, so ooh, it's a Negaduck. I was able to get a nice art foil Negaduck. That is great. All right, Roy, why don't you crack open a cold one and see what you get?
Mentioned while it's unknown though. I got one right here.
Nice.
Look at that. Stop by a local shop and grab this one while they're still out though. So let's go do this. All right. Okay, starting from here, we got Todd. We got Wind Up Frog. Got Fergus. Ultron. Got Mickey. Strange Things. Well, Hero Work. And we got Akita right there with the Cinderella as my foil. Look at that. That's quite a prize. Yeah. Foil Cinderella right there. Excellent. Not too shabby though, but I'm kind of interested in this Kita right here.
Draw 7 cards. Who wouldn't love to do that? I'm sure nothing unfortunate happens from drawing that many cards. But after rotation and dogs are mostly gone, a lot of good ramp up opportunities. Em, uh, Amber, Sapphire, get some good whiteout opportunities just to wipe a board and someone overcommits. All right. Well, thank you for joining us as we've solving our meta for League Night and attempting to determine what we're going to do next week for this week for League Night. All right. Thank you.
All
And
right.
bye.
All right, take it easy, y'all.